In today's lesson, we shall be talking about phrasal nouns and phrasal adjectives. We talked before in previous lessons and in previous videos about phrasal verbs, and we said that a phrasal verb is simply a verb that's used with one or two prepositions. For example, when we talk about verbs which are classified or categorized as phrasal verbs, we have verbs like get over, like work out, like live up to, like run out of. As you can see, all these verbs are followed by one or two prepositions. We discussed them thoroughly in previous videos that you can get back to, but for this video we will be talking about phrasal nouns and phrasal adjectives which are derived from phrasal verbs. So let's see how do we derive these phrasal nouns and phrasal adjectives from their corresponding phrasal verbs. For example, there is a phrasal verb which is called to rip somebody off. Rip somebody off. If you rip somebody off, it means that you charge them too much money. You make them pay too much money for something that doesn't deserve that much. For example, I got ripped off when I phoned that 0877 number. I got ripped off when I phoned that 0877 number. The call cost £5 a minute. The call cost £5 a minute. So this is speaker 1. Then we find speaker 2 responding to them by saying, yeah, those numbers are a big rip-off. Those numbers are a big rip-off. The second speaker, is using the word rip-off as a noun. So speaker 1 used the phrasal verb, which is I got ripped off, they ripped me off. That's the phrasal verb. But in the response, the second speaker uses the phrasal noun by saying, yeah, those numbers are a big rip-off. So rip-off or a big rip-off is the noun, rip-off is the noun or the phrasal noun derived from the phrasal verb rip somebody off. Another example, he dropped out of college last year. He dropped out of college last year. So the phrasal verb in this sentence is drop out of. If a person drops out of university or drops out of college or even drops out of school, this means that they leave that place, that educational institution, they leave it early without finishing their studies, without finishing their course. So they give up their study earlier than expected. So that's the phrasal verb. We say that he dropped out of college last year. The second speaker responds by saying, yeah, there were a lot of dropouts last year. Yeah, there were a lot of dropouts last year. So dropouts, as you can see, it's pluralized. Nothing in English can be pluralized but nouns. Adjectives cannot be pluralized, verbs cannot be pluralized. We only pluralize nouns. So dropouts used by the second speaker is a phrasal noun that's derived from the phrasal verb to drop out of school or university or college. One more example about phrasal nouns. Look at this example. Somebody broke in last night and stole a computer. Somebody broke in last night and stole a computer. What does it mean if someone breaks in? That's a phrasal verb. If someone breaks in or breaks into a place, this means that they enter the place by force. They don't have the keys to the place. They enter the place by force in order to steal something from it, right? So the phrasal verb used in this example is broke in, which is the past of break in. Let's see what the second speaker responds with. Oh, really? That's the second break-in this month. Oh, really? That's the second break-in this month. Speaker 2 is using the word break-in, which is a phrasal noun derived from the phrasal verb break in. So in these three examples, we handled three phrasal verbs: rip off, rip somebody off, drop out of, and break in. And we came up with three phrasal nouns derived from them. These are a rip off, and a drop out, and a break in. In all these examples, as you could see, we have the phrasal verb changed into a phrasal noun. Normally, if you want to pluralize the phrasal noun, you add the plural s to the particle, to the preposition. So we have plural phrasal nouns like break-ins, drop-outs, rip-offs. As you can see, we add the s to the preposition, not to the verb. We don't say breaks in, we don't say drops out, we don't say rips off, because the s of the plural is added to the particle part, to the preposition part. So we say break-ins, we add the s to in. Dropouts, we add the s to out. Rip-offs, we add the s to off. But there is only one exception to that rule, and that's the phrasal noun goings on. Goings on. As you can see, the s of the plural are added to the verb rather than to the preposition. So we don't say the going-ons. That's not correct. We don't say the going-ons, but we say the goings-on. And the meaning of goings-on are the important events, or the amusing or the entertaining events happening somewhere. For example, there was a lot of gossip about the goings-on at the office party. About the goings-on at the office party. By the way, goings-on as a phrasal noun is always plural. So goings-on as a phrasal noun is always plural. Just like another phrasal noun, which is leftovers. Leftovers. As you can see, the s is added to the preposition over, and this phrasal noun, leftovers, is always used in the plural. It cannot be used singularly. We cannot say leftover as a noun. You can use it as an adjective, but that's another story. We don't want to go there now, right? Okay, so regarding phrasal nouns, sometimes they are hyphenated and sometimes they are written as a single word. What is the meaning of hyphenated? One of the punctuation marks in English is called a hyphen. A hyphen is similar to a dash, which is a horizontal line, but it's smaller in size than a dash. So a dash is bigger, a dash is broader, a dash is wider than a hyphen. A hyphen is some sort of a smaller or a narrower or a shorter version of a dash. And hyphens are placed inside words, not between words, which means that a word like check-in, this is spelled C-H-E-C-K hyphen I-N. Although the word looks like two words, but it's actually a single word because the hyphen occurs inside the word rather than between one word and another. So check-in is only a single word with a hyphen or with a small dash separating the first part, which is check, from the second part, which is in. Some of the phrasal nouns are written with a hyphen, so we say that they are hyphenated, like break-in, check-in, cover-up. All of these are phrasal nouns which are written in a hyphenated form. But some other phrasal nouns are written without a hyphen, just like a single word with no spaces, with no hyphens, like a dropout, like checkout, like leftovers, which we have talked about earlier in the lesson. So leftovers is written as one word, no hyphens, no spaces, and the same applies to dropout and checkout. Okay, let me take a sip of tea. So far, we have handled some phrasal nouns which are made by putting the verb before the preposition. So if you look at all the phrasal nouns that we have covered so far, rip off, verb before preposition. Check in, verb before preposition. Drop out, verb before preposition. Sometimes the phrasal noun is also made from a phrasal verb, but it takes the opposite order. So the phrasal noun is made up of a particle or a preposition followed by the verb. For example, we have a phrasal verb called set out. Set out. The phrasal noun derived from that verb is not called set out. It's called outset. Outset. And the outset of something means the beginning of it or the start of it. So as you can see, we are writing the phrasal noun with putting the preposition before the verb. So we say outset rather than set out. Okay. Let me give you an example highlighting this phrasal noun. I knew from the outset that he was lying. I knew from the outset, which means I knew all along, from the start, from the beginning, I knew from the outset that he was lying. So that's an example of a phrasal noun in which the word order is reversed. Rather than having the verb before the preposition, we have the preposition before the verb. Let me give you a couple of more examples. A phrasal verb like fall down, fall down. The phrasal noun from that verb is the downfall, the downfall. When you talk about the downfall of somebody or something, this means their end, their complete failure. Okay, for example, the economic crisis caused the downfall of the government. Caused the downfall of the government, which means that because of the economic crisis, the government fell down. It came to an end. So as you can see, the phrasal noun here is downfall. The preposition, which is down, comes before the verb fall. One last example about phrasal nouns in this pattern, a verb like look on. Look on. The phrasal noun derived from that phrasal verb is onlooker. Onlooker. An onlooker is a person who sees an event or who watches an event but without participating in it. They don't take part in it. They just act like an observer. For example, crowds of onlookers watched as the police arrested the man. Again, crowds of onlookers looked or watched as the police arrested the man. So onlookers, as you can see, the preposition on is put before the verb, which is look, unlike the normal convention that we mentioned or that we discussed at the beginning of the video, having the verb before the preposition when we discuss phrasal nouns. So, up to this moment, we have been talking about phrasal nouns. Now, we will talk about phrasal adjectives. And phrasal adjectives are simply, excuse me, phrasal adjectives are simply adjectives which are also derived from phrasal verbs. For example, there is a very famous phrasal verb which is called break down. Break down. The meaning of that phrasal verb, when you say that something breaks down, it means that it stops working suddenly, or it stops functioning normally or properly. For instance, when you say that your car broke down yesterday, this means that the engine or the motor of the car stopped working suddenly, abruptly, and it didn't function. So the phrasal verb is break down. As you can see, we can derive a phrasal adjective from that, which is broken down. So you can say, I saw a broken down vehicle on my way to you. Again, I saw a broken down vehicle on my way to you. Here, you describe the vehicle as broken down, which means that it didn't work. I saw it and it didn't seem to be working or to be functioning normally. Also, you can describe a truck or a lorry as a breakdown truck. A breakdown truck. What is the meaning of a breakdown truck? A breakdown truck is simply a truck which helps the drivers whose vehicles have broken down. So if your car breaks down on the road, you make a phone call to a certain line, to a certain number, like a hotline for instance, and you ask for a breakdown truck to come and tow your car, which means pull your car to a garage, for example, using a wire or a cord or a rope. Yeah. So, as you could see, we managed to derive two phrasal adjectives from the phrasal verb break down. One of them is broken down, that's broken hyphen down. So this phrasal adjective is hyphenated. And we also derived another phrasal adjective, which is breakdown. And breakdown is written without a hyphen. So it's written as a single word. Breakdown, no spaces, no hyphens. And we used it to describe the breakdown truck, which is the truck that you summon, that you call for, to come and tow your vehicle or your car if it breaks down on the street. One last example of phrasal adjectives is blocked up. Blocked up. So blocked is spelled B-L-O-C-K-E-D, then we write a hyphen, and then we write up, U-P. If something is blocked up, this means it should be, something should be flowing inside it, but it's blocked up. Like your arteries could be blocked up, or your veins could be blocked up, or the drains or the pipes could be blocked up, which means that water cannot flow easily or smoothly through it. So you can say, for instance, blocked up drains. These are drains where the water cannot flow properly, cannot flow smoothly or easily. And as you can see, this phrasal adjective, blocked up, is derived from the phrasal verb block up or block something up. So this lesson was primarily about phrasal nouns and phrasal adjectives and how we derive them from phrasal verb. I hope it was useful to you. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure that you activate the bell in order to receive all the new notifications whenever we post a new video or come online or come live in a live stream. Also share the videos with your family members, with your friends and beloved ones, in order for our community to grow and for the channel to reach more people and for the audience of the channel to expand. Thank you very much as usual for your attentive listening, and I look forward to seeing you in our next session, in our next video. If you have any suggestions or remarks, leave them in the comment box down below. I make sure that I look at all the comments and respond to them ASAP. Thanks a lot one more time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye for now.